Good afternoon, everyone. Kitty Foss here, your storytelling astrologist, reader of the stars for May 24th, 25th, and 26th. I'm doing this on the 25th. It has seemed as though whenever it's been kind of the personality of the stars to boot, whenever there's a plan with time, life has changed so greatly that things do not go at all the way they've been planned in time. So we had a Virgo moon that moved void of course on the 24th, and that moon was using discernment with our Mercury placement, which is in Gemini. So how we were experiencing all of the smaller pieces on Sunday really laid foundation for both Monday and Tuesday. We were able to activate a nurturing understanding of this learning about how these little pieces are showing up. And I think that that's been part of what's been affecting time, how these new things show up, and we only have old patterns to deal with them. So it takes a little bit longer. It takes a real pause. It takes nurturing that learning that was happening yesterday. And to move forward, we had to take responsibility for doing that. So when there are conflicts, it's not responsibility me culpa. I am guilty. It's responsibility of, how do I react to this? How do I experience that? And then on Memorial Day itself, a day we remember, we have early in the morning the moon moving into a balance, into this Libra understanding. And once it moves into Libra, that's when the moon is in conversations with the planets on the 25th. First of all, it's working in the background with this chaos, with this awakening, this Gemini understanding, this deep psychological, philosophical, DNA awakening of patterns of the collective that is happening. We have some flip-flop energy with how we take responsibility for it. How do I find a midpoint for what I understand because things are new, and how I find a balance with that without, even though I know in the background I've got this kind of chaotic awakening that something is really changing. It is bringing me balance. How that plays out is a whole brand new act on our story of our life. And also, that moon is working to move us forward in the background with our sun. With that sun in Gemini, this Gemini energy really is having us look at our experience, communicate our experience, and become more and more awakened to that things have changed. The old patterns we apply no longer, not only not to serve us, but don't even make any sense. And so then it's like, I have to take responsibility for doing this differently. And one of the ways I take responsibility is the Pluto placement in Aquarius. How collectively do I show up for others? Do I work with others and transform the way I participate? Because we are all one at this point, and this conversation is a deep dive into the ebbs and tides and the cycles of life right now in order to find the balance. And that's something that is also working in the background on the 25th. So we have an awakening that is quite chaotic working in the background. We move forward with this because we're accepting the understanding that things are different. I am learning whole new ways of being, and that is our transformation in the collective, how we are showing up. It's a new movement away from our isolation, and it's an and how I take responsibility for when I show up, which is why I'm quite sure for me time is being affected completely on the cycles that are happening. And then on Tuesday we have that Libra moon, and it is looking for a midpoint between the structure that I am creating, because it is asking for some discernment on what I see, what I value, what I cherish and nurture, and how do I align my will with this visionary energy, discernment around that, discernment around the collectiveness, the alignment of my will, and this transformation. So what gets revealed on the 25th gets put into action on the 26th. Meanwhile, we move forward with that change, the acknowledgement of the change and the transformation, the acknowledgement that we are doing a deep dive into brand new cycles of life and death and learning into the darkness to find the information. And that is moving us forward, how we experience that Very important because of a Gemini sun. How do we experience and use our voice for that experience? Who do we invite in? Again, there's that discernment around the structures by what we cherish and how we find balance in those things. And our will in that discernment steps into what is it I need to transform in this moment in my collective understanding. I'm Kitty Foss, your storytelling astrologist. I will be back on Wednesday, May 27th. Where is May gone? Namaste.